Yo, 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 what up, y'all? Fro in the building. And today I'm going to be talking about one of my very, very favorite movies of all time. And that's the 1991 flick Ernest Scared Stupid, starring my late great hero Jim Varney and directed by John R. Cherry III. So ain't nothing to it but to do it. Now, I have a very strong personal connection with this flick. I was 5 years old when I got my very first physical copy of any movie, and that was Ernest Scared Stupid on DVD as a birthday present. And this is how I was introduced to not only Ernest the character, but also Jim Varney's filmography. This was the Kickstarter for me. This time around, we're following Ernest, who's causing chaos and his usual mayhem as a garbage collector in Missouri. Despite being known as the bumbling idiot around town, there are three kids that look up to Ernest as sort of a big brother figure, and that's Kenny, Elizabeth, and Joey. Ernest and the three kids stumble into the woods looking for a treehouse that they can build a fort on, and they eventually come across one that's the housing for a legendary troll by the name of Trantor, who's been buried underneath for about 200 years. We do open the film somewhere in the 19th century, where a little girl is getting chased by Trantor until he's captured by one of Ernest's ancestors, Phineas Worrell, and we also find out that every generation, every time it passes, that each world becomes dumber and dumber and dumber and dumber until we land with Ernest. There's a crazy old lady named Hackmore, played by the legendary Eartha Kitt, rest in peace, who's constantly worried about Ernest being the one to unleash the troll due to his bloodline. Back at the treehouse, old lady Hackmore's worst fears come to life when Ernest learns the story of Trantor, repeats it step by step to the kids, not believing Hackmore, knocks on a tree, and unleashes Trantor. And I always love this moment when Trantor does get unleashed because it's very epic to me with the big score in the background. And I always found Trantor to be effective and creepy still to this day. I think the practical effects and the makeup on him is wonderful, very grotesque, very slimy and boogerish. So very nasty, but still creepy at the same time. And it's a goofy movie, don't get me wrong. This is a kid's movie at the end of the day. But there's some moments in here that are genuinely frightening, in my opinion, when it comes to Trantor. Speaking of which, his whole arc is stealing kids' souls and placing them in wooden dolls. That alone is nightmare-inducing. Our buddy Joey is the first victim when Trantor is unleashed under the tree. Joey's walking by himself through the woods. And one other thing that I found to be very chilling is that Trantor can change his voice like the Predator or something like that. He can effectively mimic one of the other kids' voices, or even Ernest at one point, to trick one of the other kids and freeze them into the wooden dolls. Joey falls into some mud, his shoes are slipping, he's trying to climb out, a hand grabs him, and Ernest's voice comes out, "Hey, I gotcha." And Joey thinks he's safe, but when he lifts his head up, Trantor's ugly mug just floods into the screen, and it's just super creepy. We do find out through Ernest and Lady Hackmore reading through some books trying to find the origin of Trantor that one of his weaknesses is milk. Kenny's father is also the sheriff of the town, and Kenny's constantly trying to tell his parents that Trantor is real. None of the adults are believing him. Nobody wants to help out or even believe Ernest because of the big Halloween party that's about to pop off soon for the whole town. So Ernest takes measures into his own hands and grabs a bunch of various troll hunting gear, even going under the moniker Troll Fighter while rolling around in his truck with his buddy Rimshot. We do have Tom and Bobby, who are two salesmen and con artists at the end of the day. Now, Bill Burge has always played Bobby in all of the Ernest films that he appeared in, from what I understand, but I think there's different actors for the guy who played Chuck, who's named Tom in this film. But Tom and Bobby here are both hilarious. They steal the show for me. And Tom reminds me of Mr. Krabs a lot in this film in regards of money, 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 money. There is a pretty icky scene that I did find to be effective, and that's when Elizabeth is about to go to sleep. She asks her mom to check for monsters in the room. The mom says, "Don't be ridiculous." So Elizabeth checks under her bed, she climbs up, and right when we think everything's okay, Trantor's ugly mug appears in the bed. Trantor pops up at the Halloween party. He transforms the mayor's son, who's been a bully to Kenny and the other kids the entire film. Now, the mayor's son is a wooden doll. It looks like Ernest and Trantor are about to have a big showdown. But Ernest is very lovable, but he's also an idiot at the same time. But I gotta love him because he confused milk for Bulgarian miak because the L is taken out of milk in Hackmore's book. So he's sitting there wondering every other word besides the obvious one, milk. So he literally pulls out a little jar of miak, and even Trantor's like, miak? And he's like, eat miak and die. Trantor's breath knocks him back. But unfortunately, Rimshot gets turned into a wooden dog, which I always found to be very sad. And this is where Ernest bucks up. He gets into his truck. He's hunting down Trantor. He says, somebody with a runny nose is gonna die. He drives over to the treehouse where Trantor is there. He almost rams into him with the truck. But the cycle is complete with the wooden dolls. Joey, a random skateboard kid, Elizabeth, and the mayor's son have all been transformed into the little dolls. And we see these Brussels sprout looking kind of things in the roof of the treehouse. They drop into the dirt below. They sink in. And they're reborn as troll babies that look absolutely disgusting. And this is where I can see a lot of the practical work done from Killer Clowns from Outer Space. It's very apparent here with how a lot of the trolls are disguised and how they look here. But there's an epic showdown. All the parents arrive at the treehouse. We have the cops and even Sheriff Binder, Kenny's father, pops up. They're fighting back the trolls. The trolls are mollywopping them all over the place. The kids have water guns filled up with milk, so they're shooting them with that, which I always thought was really cool. We have some really wonky stunts that I always get a kick out of, like Ernest kicking trolls off of the treehouse, or there's even a really goofy Benny Hill moment where two trolls are chasing after Ernest. He manages to trick them for a brief second, but right before he's about to get killed, Kenny saves him with the milk gun. Unfortunately, Kenny is trapped by Trantor, who does turn him into a wooden doll, which makes Trantor even stronger to his strongest form, and now milk can't even work on him anymore. And this part is very heart-wrenching. Kenny's wooden doll falls out of the tree. Trantor jumps out and lands on him. And Ernest puts two and two together when the entire crowd is jeering him on. Kill him, kill the troll. They're all looking at Ernest to do something. The light bulb goes off, unconditional love. So we have a very gross and goofy sequence at the same time where Ernest is dancing with Trantor, treating him like how a mother would with the son, gives Trantor a big kiss, and that's what makes Trantor explode into a million pieces. All the children from centuries before pour out of the treehouse in regular human form, even Hackmore's family that recognize her even though she's grown so old. Rimshot even gets turned back to normal. We have a very sweet moment to end off the film with Rimshot reuniting with Ernest and a big smile on Lady Hackmore's face. Now, anybody watching the review, if you check out the film and it's not your cup of tea, I totally understand. This is a very wonky personal preference, but it's in my top 5 of all time. I will admit, mainly for nostalgia being a chunk of it, but there's certain movies that you watch that will always stay with you that you never grow out of love for. You can watch them about 100 times on and off or whenever it pops up on TV. And Scared Stupid is in my top 5 for that. Like, I can put this movie on any time of day. It'll give me a big smile on my face. And it'll make me feel like I'm a kid again. You know, it just gives me big joy. Jim Varney's always going to be one of my favorite actors of all time. I still to this day think he's extremely underrated. He flew under the radar as far as his acting range, his comedic timing, even some of his dramatic work in his filmography that I felt was underappreciated. One more time, rest in peace to the late great Jim Varney. I'm going to give Ernest Scared Stupid a personal 11 out of 10. And that's it, y'all. It's your boy Fro. What do you think about this flick? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you love it as much as I do? Comment below. Let me know your thoughts. In the meantime, between time, I'm on to the next review. Thank you guys for watching, and I'm out.